you just say things like, well, you don't make me happy. Welcome. This is the Relationship Renegade podcast, and I am your host, Dr. Jameson Mercier. Welcome to yet another episode, another installment, like we like to say sometimes, of Relationship Renegade. Thank you for sticking with me, with us, twice a week. I know that for some of you that's a big commitment. I don't take it lightly. I appreciate the time. I enjoy the time. So thank you. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for tagging me on some of your comments. Thank you for your questions. You know, it's always interesting, the comments or questions I get. I keep hoping, that people will just kind of put them out there for everyone, because there are lots of people who have the same questions. But, being what it is, the nature of what we discuss here, mental health, counseling, relationships, nobody's trying to put their business out there. So I get it. So it's usually a private conversation back and forth between me and you, and that's fine. That's fine. I enjoy it. But I'm just saying, if ever you feel so inclined to post something publicly, other people will benefit. Okay? Speaking of benefits and other people in much a more public conversation, I want to remind you that beginning next month, in the month of March, the last Wednesday, I believe is what we said, we are hosting a relationship webinar, right? We're starting that, the blueprints, relationship blueprints. And so that's going to be via Zoom. I am asking that you register, give me an email. You get the link and join me for that. That's intended to be laid back. We're not doing no counseling there. We're not diagnosing anybody. If you do kind of want to step up and just kind of make yourself, your situation, your circumstance, something for us to discuss, let me know. I would love to. I'd be honored. And I'll do my best to respect what the vulnerability. So. Yeah, if you're interested, look out for that Wednesday, last Wednesday of the month. And if you want to be part of the conversation or the conversation, let me know. All right. If not this month, next month, we'll make sure to have you up there. Okay. Now, as far as today's episode is the first in, I guess, two parts, although we're not officially dubbing it like a part one or part two. Maybe we discussed it. I don't know, but we're talking about people pleasing and making others happy. Some of you are nodding your head because you know exactly what I'm talking about. You know exactly where I'm going. You just know who you are. Okay. And so today, and make sure you come back for Wednesday's episode with me and Mia. We're going to continue the conversation. Not sure what angle it's going to take, but as always, it's going to be a good time. So listen to this and make sure that you come back Wednesday. All right. So your joy is not my responsibility. Okay. We could say your happiness is not my responsibility. Okay. A lot of us are walking around thinking that it is someone else's responsibility, or making other people feel like it's their responsibility to keep you happy and full of joy. And there's just a lot wrong with that. Okay. And we'll get into that in the course of this episode and the time that we are together. But I'll say this, there was a time when that worked, right? When you were responsible for someone else's happiness, right? It's when you were a kid, and your parents were responsible for your happiness, or if you're a parent and you have children. Okay, that's the time that someone else is responsible for your happiness, or you are responsible. Okay, but apart from that, I'm struggling to think of any situation where that works, right? My kids are now 12, 10, and 8. And, we've all been home working and in school. And I've always suspected, but this whole season has confirmed for me that they rely on me to make them happy. And I don't say that like in a bragging way, but literally to entertain them is what I mean. Okay, they'll walk into my area, my office, and just stand there and look at me. And I'll see them come in, but I ain't looking at them. I'm working, I'm busy. And they just kind of stand there until I acknowledge them. Now, part of it is, just checking in. It's a child developmental thing, and a safety and bonding and attachment thing. That piece, we're good. But they literally wait for me to like play with them. And sometimes that's great. Don't take it as if I'm bragging. But other times, it's just not going to happen. And in this season, right, this is the only time it works, when they're this age. And if you're the fortunate to be a parent of a teenager, that you're probably hoping, wishing that things were like they used to be, right? Because there comes a point when it stops. Okay, it doesn't last forever. But listen, those are the only circumstances under which I've encountered that I am responsible for someone else's happiness, someone else's joy. Okay. And again, that's a little different because it is rewarding for me. Even though it's not always easy, I do take some pleasure and joy in being the one that makes them smile, right? That's what we're talking about here. Being the guy, the dad, the person that makes my kids laugh. I take a lot of joy in that. Okay? Now, as adults, hear me, as adults, it does not work. It just does not work. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. Okay? But many of us, okay, there are two different camps here, right? Many of us are killing ourselves trying to make someone else happy. Okay? And it isn't just necessarily like pleasing them. Okay? And I won't say too much about that because you do want to come back Saturday. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about we are like bending over backwards, trying to make people happy. Okay? And if we can just stay within the context of relationships, whether it's a dating relationship or a marriage, we are really struggling to make this individual, husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, partner, whomever, happy. And then there's the other person who is placing this burden on this other individual. Like, it's clear, you know, you just say things like, well, you don't make me happy. And I'm like, what is going on here? Well, you don't make me happy. Is that what we're doing now? Was that the plan? Was that always the plan? And those two people, that dynamic, right? That dynamic of killing myself to make you happy, and then you telling me I don't make you happy, that is I was going to say an interesting dynamic, which it is for me as a clinician and working in relationships. But for you, that is the worst, because you're trying, you're trying, and he or she is not getting it, and he or she doesn't see it. Okay. So yeah, that's just, it's just terrible. I'm just like trying to find a good way to say it, but that's just effed up. It is. It's an effed up situation. Now, why don't it work? Why don't it? Why don't it? Okay. Why doesn't it? I know, but why don't it work? Well, there's a couple reasons it doesn't work. Well, many reasons. Some obvious, some not so obvious, but we're going to touch on a few reasons why this doesn't work. This idea that someone else is responsible for your joy and your happiness, right? The first thing I want to say is people change. People change. People change. There are some things that I was into thinking I wanted just 2 weeks ago, and I said them out loud, and now I don't want them. If someone heard that and was like, oh, I'm going to do that for Jameson, and they brought it to me, I'd be like, what the hell? Why are you doing that? And they would look at me like, oh my God, you just said this the other day that you wanted this. And what can I say? I'm like, I know, but I don't want it anymore. Okay, I don't want it anymore. We change. And we change all the time. If I'm trying to make you happy and I'm bringing you ice cream, you like ice cream, okay? And then one day you realize you eat too much ice cream, and then now you don't want ice cream anymore. But you didn't tell me that, right? I didn't get the memo because you didn't send one. It would be nice, but I don't know this. So I show up with ice cream, and suddenly I'm being accused of trying to sabotage you. And I don't want you to be great. I mean, you guys see what's happening here? It's just a crazy situation. So the person who is putting this burden on the individual, right? They change all the time. And then this person who is just running all over the place trying to make you happy, they change too. So they may no longer have the means, the capacity, the desire to make you happy. Okay? Their job may just be so demanding that there's just no time to make you happy. Get what I'm saying? You may have children that require some attention. We can't just stick them in the corner and water them. We actually have to parent them. And that, my dear friends, is going to impact your ability to focus solely on making someone happy. Your financial situation, it may be cost prohibitive. You got bills. Or you just got no job. So we are constantly changing. And so is the climate around us. And we have to understand that. Okay, so people change. Interests change. I touched on that. The things that you are interested in to make you happy, you may not be anymore. Okay? The same way We go from, say, Android to iPhone. I mean, maybe you're not one of those. I know I am. We bounce around different flavors of the week, flavors of the month. Those things affect if one is able to.
Hi, we are the Mercier kids. Like what you hear so far?
Make sure you never miss a show by clicking subscribe now.
This podcast is made possible by listeners like you. Thank you for your support. Now back to the show.
And on a slightly more serious note, in recent months, this last year, COVID is something that has caused a ton of change. Okay, and when I'm talking about change, like you name it, you can see a connection to COVID. If you were someone who was really into, say, your business and just trying to go, you may now be like, I think I'm going to spend more time with my family. Or if you were more family, you may be like, hey, I can go any minute. I got to get these projects off the ground. You may be the kind of person, since you've not worn anything in the last year, you not realize I don't need all of this. So now you're like a super minimalist or an ultra minimalist. I don't know. But something like COVID, something that's been beyond, I want to say, everyone's control, is forcing a lot of change, a lot of unforeseen change. Yeah, there are those who say, I saw it coming. I tried to warn you. That wasn't most people. Okay? Things happen. People get sick. How can you expect me to do all I was doing if I'm now sick? If I'm ill? That's unfair. I mean, it was unfair from the beginning. There's just no way any of this is fair. But that's just unfair. Okay, so circumstances change. Now, this next piece, though, is something that is more clinical in nature. It don't work because some of the things that people demand, want, need, claim they need to be happy are connected to issues going on in their own life. And these issues were there before you showed up. Whomever it is that's demanding that you make them happy, they got issues. I'm telling you straight. They got issues, and those issues were there before you showed up. And so I like when I see couples and there's this dynamic where one is blaming the other for whatever, and maybe rightly so. But I always ask them, sometimes in private, but oftentimes together, how much of this are you responsible for? And I may hear, you know what? I think I'm responsible for 20 or 30%. And then I ask the other person, what do you think? Is he or she responsible for all of this? And if we're honest, the answer is no. It's just manifesting and showing up in these relationships, which is something I keep talking about. Your relationships are fine. It's the people in the relationships that's the problem. And it will always be that. There's nothing wrong with your relationship. It's the people that's the problem. And so ask yourself, how much are you responsible for? This whole make me happy, or I need to make him or her happy, how much of that are you responsible for? Where did that dynamic come from? What is that? And by the way, shameless plug, that's the kind of things that we will be looking for in the Relationship Blueprint webinar. So make sure you register for that. But you need to be clear though. Going back to what I was saying, how much are you responsible for? Herdine and I have been together long enough to where we know, where our issues lie. And sometimes I don't even got to say it. It's just, it's a look. Like, hey, that ain't me. I know what I do. You can call me out, guilty as charged, but this right here ain't me. That's you. So I'm just going to go to the park, or I'm just going to go to sleep, and you handle that. If you want my opinion, I'll give it to you, but only then. Right? We've gotten to that point, and so we know what we're responsible for, what we've caused. And even in a situation where someone is to blame, right? Hear me now. Even in a situation where someone is to blame for you not being happy, it is still not their responsibility to make you happy. Did you catch that? You are still responsible for your own joy and happiness, even when someone else is to blame. Even when someone else has done something to trigger you or to cause you to be in this space. And perhaps we'll even touch on that at a later date. So just take that and put that in your back pocket. Okay? And then as far as this whole making someone else happy business, if it's not obvious, you will burn out. You will just burn out. We need a break from these kinds of things. If I were 24/7 just focused on making my wife happy, or my kids, or my mom, or whomever it is, if that was all that I was focused on, I doubt that I would be here right now. It's only a matter of time before you burn out. And doesn't mean, oh, no, you don't care about them. Oh, what kind of person are you? No, that's not what it means. But it does mean you will burn out if you're focused on making other people happy. That's just a logical outcome. Okay. So then you're like, okay, well, Jameson, fine. I'm not responsible. Okay. She's not responsible. What now? What do we do now? Well, ask yourself first. Ask yourself, are you outsourcing your joy? Are you outsourcing your happiness? Because the simple fact may just be that you're not aware that you're doing this. And so just take a pause, take a moment, ask yourself, am I outsourcing my joy? Am I leaving it up to someone else, up to others? Right? You may just have a whole army of people that you count on to make you happy. Are you doing that? And if you are, why? Why? And there are lots of, possible reasons. Maybe that's just what you saw growing up. Okay? Maybe you didn't realize that's what you were doing. Okay? You may say, well, I don't know how to be happy. Right? It doesn't even really matter what the answer is, as long as it's an honest answer. Because we can do a lot with an honest answer. I used to tell my students when I taught, when I was a professor of social work, I said, guys, don't cheat. Don't cheat. Don't plagiarize. Don't do any of that, because I can do something with a bad paper. We can do a lot with a bad paper. We can do a lot with a quiz or an exam that you failed. But if it's one that you cheated on, that's just the end. Okay? So find out what it is. And once you've done that, okay, my advice then is to learn to foster your own happiness. Learn to foster your own joy. Because people should add, okay? They should add to your joy. They should add to your happiness. They should not be your happiness. Okay? They should complement your joy. They should complement your happiness. They should not be that thing. And the main reason for that, if nothing else, it's because people will disappoint you. Yes, they will. And as you listen to this, you are probably dealing with some disappointment. And you're gonna, and that's not the last one. You're gonna have more disappointments. It doesn't mean that the person can't love you or, that they meant to. Okay? That's just the nature of relationships. Those who love you and whom you love will disappoint you. And some of us, we take that disappointment very hard. So learn to foster your own joy. And if someone comes along and adds to it, even better. Even better. It's complementary. And you might say, well, I don't know, Jameson. I don't know how to be happy or what it is. That's fine. That's fine. Listen, better for you to be bad at making yourself happy than relying on someone else to make you happy. Because there's really no such thing as being bad at making yourself happy. Because the stuff that you do that makes you happy, that adds joy to your life, that's all that matters. When I pack up my stuff, load up my truck, and I go up into the woods, whether it's a hike on the Appalachian Trail or a weekend in the forest, people look at me like I'm crazy. And I'm okay with that, right? I'm okay with that because that's what I do. That's what I like to do to make me happy. You don't have to be good at making yourself happy because there's no judge. There really is no criteria. It doesn't matter how other people critique the things you do that make you happy. Okay? I'm sure we can have a whole conversation about the things we do that adds joy or that make us happy. I like Westerns. Okay? And I don't mean Django. I'm talking about like legit Westerns. I love Django, by the way, but I'm talking like legit old time Westerns. No one else that I know that I associate with likes Westerns. And again, that is fine. That's fine. So you have your own little things, your own quirks, your own stuff that you do. Do them. And do them because it's about what you want. Okay? And give the people around you a break, right? Like tell them to take a day off, because they could probably use the break. Because trust me, guys, it's tiring. And it's not their job. It's no one's job to make you happy. Okay, so that's the challenge. That is the challenge. To figure out what it is, to figure out how, to figure out where this thing is. Where's your joy? Where's your happiness? Okay, because it's not in your husband. It's not in your wife. It's not in your kids. Okay, I want to say it's in your dog. But I've had dogs before and they will let you down eventually. Although they're better at it than people. Okay. Anyways, guys, listen, this has been our show. This has been our show for today. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you for clicking. Thank you for hanging out with us. Let me know. Are you guilty? Or better yet, are you recovering? because I can tell you I am recovering. Especially for people who are married and newlyweds. You do this without even realizing it. So I think you guys are some of the most interesting cases for me, because you just do stuff and think it's normal. So if you found value in this show, let me know. Leave a review, leave some comments everywhere, iTunes, Instagram, on our Relationship Renegade podcast Instagram. I get your comments. Some of you have been finding your way there, just kind of following the podcast between me and Mia. So comment there, let me know. Also share. Don't keep it to yourself. The people that you've been putting pressure on to make you happy, send this to them. And you know who you are. You know who they are. Just do them that favor. Okay? Because they need it. They need it and you need it. All right? Thank you guys for joining. I just wanted to get that out there. Come back, like I said, for Saturday, for the second piece of our, people pleasing. Who's responsible? Who are you responsible for? On our weekend edition. Okay. Thank you guys. I appreciate you. I love you all. You mean a lot to me, to this podcast. This is fun. And I'm glad to hear that. Not only is it fun for me, but it's of some value to those of you who listen. And so if you've not heard it yet, listen, you matter. You're important. You should know it. It's true. Okay? I love you. And I'm waiting for you for our next episode of Relationship Renegade Podcast. Thank you, and have a good day.